didn't do it right. I wanted to make it more fun. Ah,
Where are you on your deck, Val?
I am.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm back in a little nook. So, yeah, there's nowhere private in my house. I have like a herd of people here.
Not more than 10, right?
Right.
12 to be exact.
I don't know. That's a misdemeanor, isn't it? Jay?
You know, I have to go with the civil liberties on this. Privacy of your own home and all.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going with the paycheck on this one. We should be pushed out and live to YouTube. You're going all around the world today, Parrotheads.
Hi, YouTube fans.
Woohoo!
Hi, Link.
You in there?
Can you see people?
Can you tell who's coming in?
Let me take a look. Jerry's on here, admit, and then I gotta admit Martin.
Where's Jerry?
Did I mute you, Jay? No.
Oh, there we go. Okay, now we
Jerry.
can
He's
see
gonna mute
everyone.
himself.
Martin is
Oh,
sideways.
Martin, sideways.
I don't see anybody else. How do I get that over there?
Martin, you're sideways.
Oh, there we go. Oh, shit.
Can't be getting sideways on us. Where's Jim?
Don't know.
Can you hear me?
Seeing if I can't get onto the website, but
Let me see what we're doing here. Let me see if this is pushed out. One moment. According to YouTube, we're live. We're somewhere out there in the world.
So we're just missing Jim, huh?
Yeah. Well, Jim's fashionably late.
yeah.
Let me open up a browser and make sure everything's good. There we go.
Are you accepting people in, or is everyone allowed now? I mean, I'm
let me-
saying-
Let me double check, make sure everybody's here.
Make sure there isn't someone waiting in the room.
Let me see, there might be, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Now, it says 6 participants, we're all here.
Right. Okay.
Let me text Jim. He might be thinking 6:30.
Or 7:30, no.
Yeah, 7:30, excuse me. There we go. Now we're all together. Give Jim a moment to populate. Hey, Jim.
There he is.
Oh, you know what?
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Oh, hey there.
Right there.
All right. Jerry, you ready?
Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting, 6th April meeting of Commissioners of Poolsville to order. And I'll offer up the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
And
to the
republic
republic for which
Which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
We lost a member here.
We lost Martin.
Martin.
I never saw Martin.
Yeah,
Oh, he
he's
was on.
there. He's on his iPhone, and it's probably a little challenging.
Uh-huh.
Martin, can you hear us, buddy?
He could listen through the fence.
So, I think, should we mute ourselves?
No, I don't think there's any need to meet.
Mute.
I don't think there's any need because we can all kind of have a
Okay.
casual conversation. But I just wanted to keep my eye out on Martin to see where he was at.
Oh yeah, we need
you
to
know, just take
wait till he
one-
gets back in.
Yeah.
I'll just mute myself whenever I hear my children screaming in the background.
Okay.
That's for
Is
all
this
of your
being, is this being
health and
recorded as
goodwill.
our, is this being
This should.
recorded
Yes.
as our official meeting?
Yes.
Okay, because I understand there's also various degrees of Zoom, different packages they have. The one we're using is free, but there's another one that goes a step up, and there's another one that goes 2 steps up, in which you can, if you're going to have a closed meeting,
So we're
you can.
at step number 2 because I purchased it, or else I wouldn't be able to get you on like this and do a couple other things.
All
And
right.
to be able to push out to YouTube and make this, I've got to add Martin now.
Okay, the
You
other,
can only push out to YouTube with the paid version, and of course we
Right,
have to meet that.
okay, but there's also the third version where if you want, you can have closed meetings. And
It's
what-
very
you-
expensive to
you-
go up there.
You still have to follow the same procedure where you open the meeting using one phone number and then close the meeting and then have that, use that closed, another number for conducting the closed meeting.
Hey, Seth,
Yes.
are you able to tell me what the link is? I'm getting some text messages from people saying they can't. find it.
Everybody should be able to just go to YouTube and type in Town of Poolsville.
Which is what I told them.
You got Kevin Schramm on that is asking?
Yes, exactly.
I literally, Link confirmed with me that it was up and running. Martin says he can't hear us. Martin, make sure you're not muted by accident somehow.
Can you hear us, Martin? No?
Are you sure your volume's up on yours, Martin?
Did it give you?
I don't have, he's not muted.
Here, I'm good now.
Okay, good.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Sorry about that.
So yeah, if we want to take one more second, that's literally how I've gone and found it. And that's the instruction I gave Link, and he said he was able to make it there. So maybe if Kevin can give us a confirmation.
Yeah, I'm asking them to
He's
Kevin
working
to
on that.
confirm.
Seth, I was planning on keeping minutes like normal
Yes.
and, like a normal meeting. And then we would, produce them and do it next meeting too.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, so are we?
Kevin
officially-
is saying that just old videos are showing up at Town of Poolsville.
So are we officially underway or not?
No, because they can't see it. So
Let me see. I got John Strong. John Strong says if they go to the left of the page, hit live. Let me see. But that's not you all. It's I literally just did a search. I don't know if anybody wants to do a random search. I want to make sure as administrator that
I have one person on text that says they found it.
okay. And it should be just by Town of Poolsville. Let me make sure.
Morgan just told me he can't seem to see it.
Some people are seeing it and some are not.
Some people are seeing it.
I'm gonna tell them to hit live because other people
Well,
are
and-
saying
Let me double check down here. Mine says live stream, says live on YouTube here. And then, but I will admit, I just went and searched YouTube, and I don't see it like I was seeing it a moment ago. Now, of course, this time of night, I mean, not this late, but there has been issues with Zoom because of the amount of people trying to use this software.
Yeah, but I've been using it for, weeks at work. It's really just, the YouTube shouldn't be having an issue. And I have 2 people who said they can see it.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, maybe if they keep
What do you
trying.
search under, Val? What do you search
So
under?
under YouTube, just go to YouTube and then search Town of Poolsville.
Yeah, got it.
Then on the left of your screen, hit live.
Oh, like halfway down?
Oh, there you go.
Is that what you had to do, Seth? Click live?
I didn't initially, and when I do live, it gives me like more, probably a little more popular streams than this one.
Mm-hmm. I don't see it.
You don't see it, Jay?
No, doing it. Mm-mm.
I don't either.
It was up like a moment ago. Let me communicate with Link to see if he,
They can't get it.
well, Link said he was good a minute ago.
No, he's not.
Oh, he says, is the live stream up? With an exclamation mark. I thought he said it was.
Yeah, Wade has it. He just texted me and said he's watching us, so he's got it somewhere.
Hi, Wade.
Well, it's interesting that some have it and some don't. Guess we can wait one more minute. I don't know what it's gonna do, but
John Strong still says he's on.
Morgan says he has it now.
Want me to tell you how to do it? When you
we want to continue forward.
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll go over, and a lot of this information will be posted tomorrow on the website, so it's there. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes and things.
Okay, Seth, I'm sorry to interrupt. It looks like what you have to do is when you type in Town of Poolsville, and then go to the upper left-hand corner. There's a icon to click on. It says filter. You have to click on filter and then click on today, and then it brings you to the live video.
Oh, yes, it does. That,
So I don't know how we can send that out to folks.
well, at this point, I'm not sure we can, but I don't know how many people actually went through that. Yeah. This is, well, working out issues, right?
Yeah.
Just first time kinks.
Yep.
I wonder how many other people had to do that, because initially this came up,
I know.
and every test I've done, I haven't had to do that.
Hmm.
Where is the filter? On the left-hand side in that menu? I don't see
Yeah,
that.
it's like up under the YouTube icon itself.
It's almost like underneath the search bar, Jim.
It actually says the word filter.
Yeah, it ain't showing up on my browser, so it could be a browser
Yeah.
issue.
Hmm.
I'll use Chrome.
I'm using Chrome and it's popping up.
I'm in Safari.
Mhm.
I don't see it. And I'm wondering about people who are using their phones.
Right.
Well, there's definitely people watching. Hello, everybody. Pardon us while we try to figure this out.
All right, well,
We'll get it eventually.
yeah. What you have to do not that it does any good, but what you have to do is if you're in your mobile, up across the search bar on the far side is the filter icon. It doesn't say filter, but you'd have to hit that. You see how there's like the 3 bars across there and it's layered
Mhm.
with hash marks? It looks like a music chart. You'd have to hit that, and that's the filter there on your mobile. What I will do, not that it's probably much good, but let me take a screenshot of this. Kathy is telling me that people are trying to communicate with her about this.
Amazing. Everybody cares. So awesome.
Democracy in action, Jim. All right.
Link said he found it. He's sending it to Kevin.
Okay, Kevin says he's on.
Well, thank God. Now we can start the meeting.
Thank God. Hi, Kevin.
We good?
We're good here.
Probably as good as we're going to be.
Yes. I've asked Kathy, I mean, while it's last minute, to kind of push something out to Facebook, and we'll go from there. So clearly we've had a lot of changes since we've last met and things have transpired. So I'll just go over through some of those changes that have occurred. I'll upload this information as a document on the web page, and I will try and get a ribbon across the top in which you can click a link and find all this information just so it's up to date. So as you all know, we have closed town hall to the
Hey,
public.
Seth, before
Yes,
you start going in, I'd like to read something myself.
sure. Go ahead.
All right. Let me place this current situation into context. We collectively are in serious and unpleasant times, which many of us have never encountered in their lifetime. It's unlike 9/11 or the 2008 financial crisis, which affected each in different ways. This crisis affects everyone, every family, every community from coast to coast. The COVID-19 virus does not discriminate. It does not care about one's age, sex, race, creed, or socioeconomic level. Those who do not take the virus seriously do not only do so at their own peril, but also can negatively impact their neighbors, but also their own families. I am acutely aware that the commissioners need to help the community see this through. Therefore, the town asks that each resident help arrest the spread of this disease by following the Center of Disease Control's guidance, which can be found on the CDC's website about social distancing, washing your hands, and wearing recommendation to follow face mask, wear face mask. Even under these conditions, the town government continues to function because of the excellent dedicated staff we have in our town hall, water department, sewer department, parks and recreation, street department. They are all special, and when you see them, please tell them thank you from a social distance or shout it out from your doorway. Having lived here for 39 years, I know that we are a resilient, caring community, and this crisis will pass. What we do towards and for one another in good times is even more important now that we stick together, care for and support one another, and not become hermit families, fearful of going for a walk with the family or to walk the dog. Do not be afraid to check on one another. Most of all, if you know your neighbor needs help, pardon me, help them the best you can, or get help for them through the churches or one of our civic organizations. On a positive note, MCPS, after a not well publicized start, has started distributing food to those children in the Poolsville cluster who qualify for the free and reduced meals program. We have closed our parks not because we wanted to, but because some people did not have the common sense and ignored the governor's order not to congregate in large groups, which would only help spread the virus. The town will use its website, Facebook page to alert you to any changes in the current restrictions that have been enacted to lessen the impact of COVID-19 virus on Maryland residents. Stay safe and be careful out there. Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
All right, I'll jump back in. As you all know, town hall is essentially closed to other staff members, the public, and commissioners themselves. And we continue to hold that until this passes, and we'll make changes as need be. As you're also aware, out in the field for Parks and Rec, water and sewer, and the wastewater operations, we've gone to a rotational schedule to try and create some distance between the team members so that if something happens, we can have a continuation of operations throughout this process. Also to that point, all of them have their letters of travel that's required by the governor, so they have been provided that. The public meetings, you're all aware, pretty much they're canceled unless posted otherwise. Pretty much only the town commissioners meeting that will continue at this point in time. The other business on some of the boards is at least currently suspended at this time. Water service continues as normal as you'd anticipate, but the way we're doing metering readings has changed a little bit, but you're also aware that the governor has acknowledged that we cannot shut off water and no late payment fees are applicable at this time. Trash recycling pickup, that continues as normal. However, the bulk trash has been suspended at this time. The code enforcement process continues to remain active and in effect. Parks and Rec, I should say the parks and the playgrounds, as you know, are totally closed at this time. We've put up tape and some barricades and other things. There have been folks who've tried to violate that, but we've continued to ensure that that closure remains in place. Of course, as you all know, has been posted on Facebook. This is not to preclude walking in the parks themselves. Events at this point in time, all events through May 30th have been canceled. We will evaluate this as scenarios change as well. The local restaurants, we encourage people to go and patronize those restaurants in the ways that you can. Those are the ones that have remained open at this time. We ask that folks tip generously, and more information regarding these restaurants clearly can be found on their webpage or their Facebook page. We've done a few updates on our Facebook page to keep the public aware of what businesses are open and the services that they're providing. To that point a little bit regarding businesses, we've put together a resource brochure based on what's happening at the federal stimulus level and some of the state and county level. We put together a resource pamphlet, which Carrie has started to distribute to all the businesses. It's pretty detailed. I think it's helpful to the businesses. They're familiar with it, but it just ensures that they have that and are aware of those resources. The other element is that any other changes in the town will continue to be posted on Facebook if there's any further updates, and we'll make those announcements also on the news feed within the town webpage. So either the town webpage or the Facebook page will be our source of getting out information fairly quickly. You're all aware that pretty much everything I've gone through has been on the Facebook page or the news feed, but this is an opportunity to summarize all that right here while we're together. That sort of summarizes those high points. Is there any question about operations, other things before I move to the budget just a little bit?
No, but Seth, thanks for keeping everybody organized and setting the protocol and doing a good job of it. And I I'd be surprised if we saw any drop off on town services. And, the town, I'm sure, is in a kind of a forgiving mode right now, but so far it hadn't needed to be. You've done a great job and the guys appear to be organized and on top of it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Yeah.
And happy with the decisions that have been made. So thanks for doing, everything you've done, Seth. Who would have imagined you came in and would have to handle something like this right out of the gate? So, we all appreciate your efforts and just really being focused on what needs to do to keep people healthy.
Yeah, bravo, Seth. I echo what Valerie and Jim said. You've done a fantastic job and we're in good hands.
Yeah, talk about baptism by fire, huh? Boy, I think Seth just started in January, and third month in, he's got a global pandemic to deal with. I mean, wow. I think we keep calling him our new town manager, but I think once we get past this, I think we're definitely past the probation period at this point. Just an amazing job that Seth's been doing. So thank you so much.
Yes, you definitely had a baptism by fire, you might say. By virus.
What I'd like to shift to is the budget a moment, and I don't want to take too much time, but I do need to go into some details because, you all have to be aware of some of these budget cuts and budget changes because basically the second slide will be the schedule, and we need to stay on that schedule clearly for legal purposes. And I'm going to try and share the screen to you. You should have amended budget before you. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. At our next meeting, we'll have to do the introduction of the budget. So we'll go through some high-level elements on it, and I can present those at that meeting. You can see the legal requirements for some postings in the paper. Our public hearing will be on May 18th, and then the actual June 1 adoption of the budget. So what I'll probably end up doing is submitting to you electronically before the April 20th meeting, the updated budget and the changes that we're about to discuss. Some of them need policy decisions involved. So that comes to the revenue shortfall and budget cuts. So with the revenue shortfall, we're looking about $450,000 approximately, dialing these back, taking in sort of a worst case scenario. And a bulk of these really come from income tax, highway revenue, and then our proposed, but no longer proposed anymore, tax increase on the property that would have generated about $100,000. So that's a bulk of the cuts right there are in those three line items. There's various miscellaneous other cuts throughout or revenue shortfalls elsewhere.
Well, we also, not to interrupt you, but we also don't know, unless you were going to mention tax duplication, whether or not we will get an increase or a complete decrease of what we have previously received, which is approximately 228,000 and change.
That I was not yet considering, just because what we heard the other day, Jerry, was at least so far there's been no decision on that.
Right.
We'll have to move forward as we go. So the budget cuts, so we have 450,000 approximately in revenue shortfall. The budget cuts are going to come from $281,000 in various expenditures that'll be cut. There's $133,000 that will have to come from the unrestricted funds. There's $711,000 in that account. So it is definitely raining and we're going to have to pull from that account. And then there was a line item that I did notice that was significantly under for the revenue. We collect about 110,000 in there and we only accounted like 15,000 in revenue. So year over year, we're well above the 15,000, more like at 110,000. So I didn't think it was unreasonable to capture even 32,000 more of that value. So we collect about 110. It's been budgeted 15,000. I don't think it's unreasonable, even if that gets cut in half, to add 32,000 to that. So that really kind of closed up the $450,000 gap. Looking back in time as a predictor of the future a little bit to get some understanding, when we went through the last downturn on the income tax, we dropped by about $103,000. I've definitely anticipated a greater reduction than 103,000, so I built that in there. but I wanted to let you know that I did a little bit of homework and research of what the last drop was to use as an indicator moving forward. You can see that surprisingly it recovered really within 1 year. I'm not saying that will happen now, but you can see that happened in 2008. So here's where our budget cuts lying in. Some of this is just deferred expenditures to the future. So you can see sidewalk repairs will be reduced. Historic Medley District, that's being reduced. The allocation for the mower is being put off to FY22. Same thing with the snow thrower, the 15,000 that was to be earmarked. Remember, we do pay as we go. This is not the full value cost. There's 15,000 saving there. The Kubota tractor again will be pushed out a little bit further. The pickup truck that was anticipated to be purchased this year, the final $10,000 allocation was for this year, will be pushed out to FY22. Fisher Avenue, I added some dollars there this year. That's going to be reduced by a significant amount. The pay raises will no longer be in the budget. I've taken the performance bonuses way down. And I've reduced it by 23,000. So collectively there'll be about 9,000 for performance bonuses. I'm going to forego mine. And that can be divided up to the other 18 crew members. So they actually have something for Christmas. I think some of these people probably anticipate using some of this for Christmas. So I've kept that in there. I'm sure this one will cause a little eyebrow raising, but the summer recreation program, you've all been subsidizing that for years. You know, the registration fees to date have really only covered about, you know, $17,000 of the $40,000 expenditure, but I've zeroed it out. I think that should be an actual expense. And if you do the math, it's only $20 a week for each student or, you know, attendee. It's only $20 a week over the 7 weeks to make this sustainable. So you can't even get childcare for an hour and a half at $15 an hour, and we're offering a full week's worth of care for $20.
What are we charging now, or what did we charge last year?
I think we charged $7 last year, and we have about 176 in this program, so we're way under. But it would be for 7 weeks, it'd be about $200. But I mean, that's not even a day's worth of daycare, you know, if you will, you know, if you look at it that way and you're getting 7 weeks.
How many, can I
go ahead.
ask a question at this point with respect to that? Were
Yeah.
some of these kids needy where we sort of gave them a grant so that they could?
No, there was no grant program. We've just
All right,
always subsidized this program essentially.
okay, thank you.
The fair access, this was talked about on another call. Fair access is open to this cut and accepts this 15,000, you know, reduction down to 15,000 for their budget this year. They feel like they're kind of in what they hope to be the end game of some of their promotion side of this and advocacy. The sewer camera, again, deferring that. The tilt trailer, that's being deferred as well. So that does bring you to the savings about $281,000 collectively.
So Seth, question for you. Who made the call that the summer recreations essentially, it looks like it's canceled, right?
Well, let me be clear about it, Jim. We're not canceling anything.
No.
What would happen is anybody who wants to attend the summer recreation would just have to pay what the real rate is.
And what did we have? We figured out what that is?
Yes.
70,
So- well, we're charging 70 currently,
right.
but for 7 weeks. So it's $10 a week for 70 weeks. Your child has some sort of activity throughout like 7 hours of the day. To be at the real cost, it's like $200 for 7 weeks. So while it sounds like a significant increase, when you divide it by the number of weeks, you know, it's probably like $240, but when you divide it by the number of weeks, it's only $20 for the whole entire week for your child to be in some kind of camp. Minimum wage in Montgomery County is now $15 an hour. You can't even get 1.5 hours of childcare for the $20 for an entire week. I mean, it's significantly.
So just back to it again, how many kids and how much are we gonna have to charge
176, and it'd be about $220, $230.
for the summer?
for the
And
summer.
that's for a full summer, or is that a reduced summer?
It's the 7 weeks that it's been there. So it starts at July 22nd. So there's probably a week after school that it's not open, and maybe a week before school starts again that it's not open.
How about hardship? Are we going to revise? We don't really have a policy because the number's been so cheap. We're going to do
correct.
something different there.
Well, and I understand we took this, we've gone up a lot, in just a couple of years, and nobody's ever complained.
We have.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever complained because
Yeah,
they
we've
realize the deal
we've
they're getting.
gained kids
And
while we've
gained
raised
kids.
the price.
Correct.
I think that to Jim's point too, is I think some of those kids came from out of town. Didn't they?
Well,
It's possible. I mean, I know my kids
Yeah.
are all counselors. There may have been a few here and there, but like out of town limits, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Right. But in the up county still too.
Right,
I understand
We didn't have
but-
kids coming in from Darnestown or
right.
places like that.
so it's just a policy decision if you want to, help pay for people's childcare.
I don't look at it that way. I look at it as it's one of our great town services that we help provide to kids, and it's more than just daycare. It's actually, we have great counselors, we have great leadership, trying to set a good example for the kids. It's like one of the real pluses that we do for people in town versus, like a marketing option for somebody. So I hear you, but I think we've, and a bunch of us worked very hard over the years to try and take that camp and turn it into what it is today. And I'm not opposed to having it be somewhat self-sufficient, but I think it's the cost has to be kept reasonable because we have plenty of kids that can barely afford to go to that camp.
So
I
I
don't want
just,
to lose them.
sure,
And
I
it's
just did,
still incredibly, I mean, compared to other camps.
No,
and
because here's
childcare, I mean,
what's going to
it's still
happen. Forget
incredibly
you can forget what
expensive.
compares to other. What the other is that they don't do anything versus coming to our camp.
Right.
That's the other. It's not like they're going to go to daycare and make a choice that they're going to go somewhere else and like go to Kaleva or go to Badlands or some other children's play space. They just won't do anything.
So Seth, the one thing that we've noticed over the years is that it's not really used as a daycare, so to speak. And the
that's
reason,
probably you're right.
and the reason being is that there's some really strong restrictions about the children who attend that camp. If there's one strike of lightning, a child has to be picked up immediately. If there's no shelter. So the people who bring their children really are, I think, mostly, parents who are around locally. There could be a handful of people that have an arrangement with like another mom to take their child home. I've seen that over the years. But yeah, I think that, I think we can all appreciate what you're trying to do here. This is just a really touchy subject for all of us because this is a cherished program within the town that we created that really makes us stand apart from a lot of places. So I think that, we'll have to give some thought to this and see what else we can, how we can work this to make it better for everyone.
So, and you're right. I mean, I do recognize the Achilles heel of this program is the fact that under inclement weather, people do have to pick up their kids. So, I mean, I do recognize this reason why part of this is a reduced rate. I mean, you can't guarantee when you drop off your child at camp that they're actually
That's right.
Right. It's truly camp versus daycare.
Yeah, I shouldn't use the word daycare. It's
That's
camp.
all right.
That's all right.
But it is,
I get it.
but also it's now 9 to 3, and years ago it was shorter amount of hours. So we've also increased the duration of time on this as well. One other thing, just back of the nap, actually by math, right now we collect about $12,300 in fees on the program. And so that means $28,000 is what you all contribute towards the camp each year. Now, that $28,000 at this point would have to come out of the unrestricted funds. That's a policy decision you can make, or you can try and even increase this maybe up to like 100 or 120, and at least try and reduce some of that. But it's a policy decision, and I hear that there needs to be a little bit of modest adjustment.
I wonder if
Cool.
we could look at some kind of, maybe this is what Jerry was starting to suggest, some kind of a scholarship or
Grant.
scale.
Well, I think one, we could increase the price a little bit and,
True.
and then talk about grants, but, yeah, I would hate to see this go away because if the kids, to Jim's point, they're either going to be at home or maybe they're going to be somewhere else and possibly getting into some mischief. Not to say that they would, because all our children are stellar, but, I think we need to keep this. And the other thing is we have to factor in is we don't know really how long this virus thing is going to impact or what is going to happen,
Right.
regardless of what some people say that, oh, in the hot weather, the virus is going to go away. Well, you just might feel hotter when you got the virus because you got hot weather. But so I think, that's another thing to factor in is will we in fact have complete 7 weeks of this, or will it in fact be less?
Well,
And-
I think we can pretty much count on we're not going to have a full 7 weeks.
Right.
So that's something we're going to have to take under consideration.
So
I mean, the basketball camp I run right now, we're very close to saying postpone till August or not have,
right.
depending on what's going on. And a lot of it also has to do with the camp also has features that are also integrated with other activities.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I mean, I
absolutely.
think there's a possibility the pool's not going to be open this summer. I think, we have to think about all those. So.
Yeah. So the thing is maybe we ought to have develop a graduated scale. So if it's open only for 6, 5, 4 weeks or whatever, we charge accordingly, but a little bit more than what we have, because if we're down in the number of weeks it's open, that means our employee costs are also down.
Right.
So, I think, we can maybe balance some of that out.
Well, I think Seth's heard enough from us on that one, huh, Seth?
Right. I've got it.
No,
The bottom line on now the FY20 expenses to FY21, this is basically a transfer of those dollars over. We're not having Spring Fest, and clearly there's not post prom. So that's just either savings this year or allocated to next year.
Seth, can I just ask a question about fair access? It looks like you're definitely giving us this, the savings of 15.
The savings
Is that
the saving is 25.
consultant
That is,
line item, or is that Van Eperen, or is that?
no, that is for, if I may interject, that is for the muster software that we use and for the pre-Poolsville Day Parade breakfast. And that leaves about between, I don't know, that together is about 8,000 to 9,000. So then you have another $7,000 or so, or 10 grand somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly. Jim, do you remember what it was?
I don't, because when we were talking about it, we really didn't. We
'Cause
just knew that we
mustard-
could live. We knew we could live with less.
Now I remember. Mustard was like around 2,800. The breakfast was around 33 or 35. So that would be roughly, we would have between 9,000 and 10,000 left over just for doing those two things, in case we needed money for something else related to fair access.
Sounds about right.
I see. Okay, thanks.
We're good.
Yep, thank you.
So I'm going to revisit an issue we discussed on March 7th. So here's our, I mean, it's pretty serious actually. Here's our town budget, and there's water and sewer shortfall. It's pretty serious because it's really running a major deficit, and we need to think about this over the long term. And so I was able finally to go through this with a fine-tooth comb a little bit. And there's basically 3 categories of water and wastewater. There's the operating expenses, which you're used to subsidizing anywhere between 25 and 40,000, 50,000 a year. Well, this upcoming year is about 22,000, but actual expenses always show this to be a higher number than budgeted year over year. Then you actually have the capital, the things that are needed on a longer term basis. And that number is about 425,000 this year. So I went back and looked at prior year's capital expenses, And you can see that it's been a healthy 400, 375 plus. There's a couple down years, but you can see that the capital, is fairly consistent within $100,000 range for the most part. And so that's capital projects, as I've mentioned a couple of times. And then you actually have the debt service, which we talked about on March 7th a little bit, which is really, that can be I&I. Some of those will start to roll off, but there's a few other projects that need to come on. And what happens is when you look at the cost of operations, the capital, and the debt service, we run a deficit of about $680,000 in the water and wastewater system, which is solely funded by your general revenue. None of this here is based on water fee collection. If you go to the very top operating expenses, the expenses to just do operation, year-to-year activity, which includes salaries and hauling, sludge disposal, and chemicals, is about 1.375 million. We take in about 1.35, so we're running about a $25,000 deficit just on operations. So most of the revenue is strictly from the collection of water and wastewater bills. So you can see that those bills are not even covering operations, which you all know, but it's woefully inadequate for covering the capital that goes in there, pretty much every year to maintain that facility. And of course, that doesn't even account for the debt service. Are we going to recuperate $680,000? Probably not. But what we have to look at is the town is a collection, as I told you before. We have parks that are, brand new 20 years ago, but upgrades need to be made to them. The Helmholtz bathhouse needs to be repaired. And, while Elgin is new, eventually that will come up in 20 years, right? We have these cycles that we have to think about, our roads, other improvements we want to do. I can go on through the list. You're all familiar with the discussion we had on March 7th and the nature of this. So I'll get to a broader point here in a moment, but you did want to see what a recovery rate looks like. Even if we did 3% increases for the next 9 years, we'd recoup about $400,000 approximately. We'd still subsidize the bills, the water and sewer bill, by a couple $100,000 at this point. But functionally, at that other number, you are subsidizing water bills in the tune collectively about $680,000. This, if it was committed to it as a commission, we could actually begin to shrink that gap so that water and sewer pays for water and sewer, and now the town general expenditures for other programs and activities are subsidizing this. The bottom line is kind of hitting the point here is, while I've rolled back the property tax increase, I'm not proposing to roll back the 2% increase in the water sewer rates just because of the woeful deficit that's in. And it's structural. I just don't think we can ignore it. It's so significant that it's impacting other town budget initiatives.
Seth, I have a question for you. Isn't this just basically kind of a shell game from where we've been in the past? You're actually asking us to raise similar amounts of money. I mean, we haven't been missing $400,000 a year.
No, absolutely not. We have not been missing 400,000 or the 600,000. We just haven't been collecting it, and we've taken other revenue streams to plug this. And that was fine when, development was happening at a greater rate and we could offset some of those costs. For example, one of the I&I projects are through impact fees alone. But, you can see in later years, you've made a conscientious decision to not rely on impact fees as much because that stream is coming to an end. There's less development out there. We're getting less new parks. So we're going to have to start maintaining those. This works well when things are new and provided to us by the developer. I'll just beat this to death one step further. The roads that we're taking over in Brightwell today in a short 20 years are going to need to be repaved. And that's in addition to all the other new streets we've paved. We're doing a pretty good job. Our infrastructure is great. Our parks are great. Those things are great. But if we anticipate keeping that same level of service, then we're going to have to resolve this issue on the water and sewer side.
So Seth, just to clarify one more time, sorry for the millions of people on YouTube watching right now. Basically, this comes down to is that you're projecting a budget shortfall as time goes on due to lack of development. And when that and the reliance on infrastructure dollars coming in, impact fees, et cetera. And in anticipation of that, you're trying to right size our water and sewer because we've been making capital contributions to, in essence, cover the water and sewer deficit in terms of rates, correct?
That's correct.
So you're trying to make up time in anticipation of the fact that one day the development stream will be in effect not in favor of keeping our town budget balanced, and the money's going to have to come from somewhere. And according to your numbers, we're underfunded at face value on water and sewer.
That's correct. And this goes back to another discussion I had, is that, you know, we need to think about the core of our town and some potential further commercial activity, whatever that looks like, that's right for the community. And that's why I'm not going to go all the way down the line, but all these things are connected. And this is why we need to get a master plan and a vision around the community that we can all buy into. But we've been overly reliant on residential too much. And then we're also at low density residential, right? So we have less homes per acre to have the economies of scale. And that's not a bad judgment call about anything here in town. We've got a great community. It's a great place to be. It's a great location in the agricultural reserve at our low density. That's appropriate, but we need to think about how this packages together, you know, as we discussed on March 7th. And again, part of this discussion of camp, right? Let's get to where this effect is. We're cutting, you know, I'm proposing to you, which I figured there'd be some pushback of cutting camp because we're subsidizing water bills. I mean, those are the value judgments we've made as a town to date. And I just need to lay that out there, else I wouldn't be doing my service to you as your town manager.
Seth, so, and to even take that another step, you're talking about subsidizing by actual cost versus subsidizing by competitive water and sewer rates outside of this jurisdiction. And that we're currently not competitive because we don't really have that many people paying the water and sewer bills. So we have to have a capital makeup, and that's going to make a difference compared to people that have water and sewer bills that are, you know, much larger, you know, density, I guess, collection ways of getting that money in.
Correct. Plus, I understand our rates are much lower than most places.
Right. It's a choice the town makes. I get it, and it's also part of the master plan. So
and if you tell me you're happy with that, then we move forward that way. But I'm not sure.
We appreciate you having the crystal ball and putting it out there. That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we have to remember it and think about what's, you know, going to come down the path in the future.
Jay, is that wave ever going to break behind your head, Jay, or is that just going to sit there the whole time?
He's muted.
Good thing he is.
You can hear me.
I know.
I can hear you.
Well, in collective, that really wraps up everything. But again, like I said, certain things work well when you're a little bit plush, but you know, there's reality on some of these things as well. So you can see where the cuts are. I think you don't have much issue except with the one, and I'll you know, get that back in order. Let me stop sharing this. So anyway, I wanted to present that so you knew that I was looking at those line items and where they were coming from, and so you had that information. So Jerry, as a president, that really sort of concludes anything I have under that. I don't know if there's any further questions.
No, I think it was a very excellent presentation, also specifically on the white water and wastewater. I think you really detailed where we're at with it and where we need to go. Next on the agenda is back to one is reappointment of boards and commissions. We have, do you have the list of those people?
Yes, I do. You all received an email. You know, did we take care of minutes? But we'll get to that in a minute.
No, we did not.
We'll come back to that. But let's stay on this topic. Everybody essentially wants to be reappointed, but we do need 2 new Board of Election volunteers. Otherwise, the boards remain as they are because everybody expressed interest in being reappointed.
Okay, wasn't there some talk about that next, not this year, but the next time, that we should advertise regardless of whether people want to be reappointed or not, that there may be other people in the community who would like to be appointed to some boards, and that it should be opened up?
That
Yeah.
topic,
I would like to see that.
I was gonna say, it's been brought up by a couple folks that you can still request to be, reappointed, but it opens up the candidate pool for everybody. So
Right.
now, instead of being uncontested, if you will, it'd be, contested for a volunteer position. And we would accept those in, they'd clearly have to depict, what board they'd like to be on. And then you would have to take a look at that. And we might ask for, some sort of resume or letter of interest, so you can actually make a determination in case you have more than one candidate for a position, if you're trying to evaluate who you'd like to appoint.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea also.
Okay, we'll set that up for next year as stated.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who maybe on one board might want to cross over to another, little cross pollination with respect to what's happening in town and their volunteerism.
It also just kind of gives a chance, to residents to get involved. I mean, I was really encouraged when we recently had an open seat on the planning commission. We had 8 people apply for the one position. I just thought that was great. 8 very qualified people. And so it's wonderful to see people want to get involved.
Okay,
But
So-
0 for fair access, unfortunately.
Right.
right.
Anybody want to get fair access?
That's
Okay.
a shame.
All right, could you, Seth, name the
Okay.
people who want to be reappointed into what boards and how long the terms would be, please?
Yes. I don't have the length of term. I think most of these are like 3 or 4. So Planning Commission, Michael Timms, Bodie, often known as. So he would be the only one for Planning Commission. Board of Elections would be Andrew Stump, Maggie McCarthy, Laura Dunlop, Joyce Harris, Karen Anderson, William McDonald. Those are all the people who'd like to be reappointed, and we need 2 more apparently. Board of Zoning Appeals, Laura Eckert and Russell Jones would like to be reappointed. For Parks Board, we've got Tim Pike and Terry Pierce. And then Ethics Commission would be Marcus Melton. Those are all the ones getting reappointed. Basically by the way we've done policy at this point in time.
Could I have a motion to reappoint those that Seth named to the boards to which they want?
Yeah,
to
I'll
be
make a
reappointed?
motion that we reappoint all of those board members who are asking for reappointment at this time.
I second that.
Okay,
I have a question. On the Board of Zoning Appeals, is the Bolu property ZTA something that could end up in the hands of the Board of Zoning Appeals, only because I believe Laura Eckert is one of the property owners next to the Bolu property?
For the Board of Zoning Appeals, neither of those 2 items, Beaulieu or the ZTAs, would go before the BZA. Now, eventually, if the Donegan and 7-Eleven continue to proceed, then they need a special exception, which then would go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Just for clarity.
So there is no chance that the Bolu decision in any way, shape, or form is going to end up in front of the BZA.
That's correct. It's all at your
Cool.
domain.
Good, thank you.
all right. Is there any further questions or concerns?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, call the question. All in favor signify by what? Saying aye?
Aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
What I'll do is put a notice out for those 2 positions that are vacant and bring nominations to you.
okey doke. All right, next on the agenda.
All right, is this my spot to discuss
Well-
the
in terms of order and procedure, do we want to clean up a few things first? I mean, I
Sure.
don't know what you want to do about, the FY21 budget amendments are taken care of. I don't know what you want to do about the grant request, and then maybe we need to handle minutes as well. We definitely need to do minutes, and then I guess it's up to you if you all want to handle the Poolsville Community Garden request.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of March 2nd, 2020 as they were presented to us.
I'll
Second.
Okay,
You.
any discussion? Hearing none. Call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None? Motion carries. Okay, next is the grant request from the Poolsville Community Garden, which I understand they want donated 28 bags of mulch. Is that correct, Seth?
That's correct.
All right. So, what say you all?
My first question is, what does 28 bags of mulch cost approximately?
And what did we do last year?
Well, I think we've provided this request in the previous years.
Right.
You know, apologize, I don't actually have that number, but the number
So
of
this
bags,
is an annual request?
it has become that.
It has become that, yes. Last year was technically it was supposed to be our last year. We're going to give them any sort of grant. That's what last year we had agreed to. So, and depending on how much the mulch is, you know, probably around $150 to 100 and what? Between what, 70, 78? And, you know, it depends on whether it's $3 a bag or $5 a bag.
Probably closer
Okay.
to 3.
I'll tell you what, I'll make this one easy. Tell the Poolsville Community Garden that I'll donate the bags of mulch. Then we
That's
don't have to
awesome,
consider
Jim.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, that's great. My garden needs some mulch too.
I'll have them drop off one bag.
Okay.
Awesome.
So the next on the agenda is a permanent ban on all town commissioners using town hall as an office regardless of the times of day or the week. Commissioners shall not only use town hall resources such as internet copying or similar activities in conjunction with scheduled meeting with town staff members, the public scheduled meeting either in town meeting room or conference room. So,
So I have something I'd like to say about that.
go right ahead.
As you all know, a large topic of discussion was my letter to the editor in the Monocle, which I had hoped not to write. But having said that, I'd like to read something that I've written today. We all took an oath to support the charter and the laws of our town and the state of Maryland when we took office. The charter is the foundation of our local government. Prior to the start of our new town manager, we voted to adopt a new policy that we all felt was important to ensure our new person and the staff so they could settle in without interference during the transition. The vote we took set up a new town policy that is the same as any other law that we adopt. It must be adhered by everyone. Except for the commission president, we all agreed with this new policy that was actually suggested not by myself, but other commissioners. The president did not agree at the time and has since then continuously violated it. At all times, but especially now, we need a government that the citizens can rely on to follow its laws, uphold and enforce its policies. None of us can abuse the laws of our town legally or morally. Otherwise, we all lose. I want our government to move forward and demonstrate faithfulness to its laws. We disagree on many things, but I do not think we as a board disagree that the president has demonstrated a lack of respect for our town's processes, and in this case, one of its laws. All commissioners have stated this, and with strong conviction, during a public meeting and privately. I want to encourage a new start amongst our board and better relations amongst all of us. As many of you know, I do not intend to return to the board in November. I will be moving on with my life and my family. All I want for my community is a leader that will follow the policy, uphold the charter as we were sworn to do, and allow the town manager and staff to do their jobs in peace, and we do ours. I'm saddened as a board that we've had to struggle with this issue for 6 months now, to the point of our new town manager suffering through it as well, and reaching out to us for support, which is how this began recently. We were very clear over the past 6 months, if the new policy wasn't followed, stronger actions would be taken. We all had hope that it would be taken care of. It has become clear that the policy will not be followed, and the president quoted, "If the board doesn't like it, they can remove me." I want this board to move forward and to work together to accomplish things that are for the good of the community and our residents. I do not want to spend another minute expecting our town manager and staff to police the goings-on of a volunteer elected official. I am not alone in this thought, and all commissioners, except one, have expressed the need to make this change. Despite the lack of direction individually and together, we as a board have been accomplishing things that needed to be accomplished during this past year and a half. Therefore, to finish my thoughts, at the appropriate time, which I'm assuming is now, I will be asking for one, discussion on a permanent ban on all town commissioners using town hall as an office, regardless of times or days of the week. Commissioners shall only make use of town hall resources such as internet, copying, and similar activities in conjunction with a scheduled meeting with town hall staff, members of the public, or scheduled meeting either in the town meeting room or conference room. So I'd first like to talk about that particular subject. Is there anything that anyone would like to contribute to that piece?
Val, the only thing I would say is that you said a permanent ban on use of town hall, any room inside town hall. Is that correct?
Yes, as an
And
office.
that has nothing to do with the COVID-19. That is just, or it's permanent ban as of now until the end of the COVID-19, or is it permanent ban period?
A permanent ban period for the use of a personal office, whether it's town business related or not. I feel as though it's not appropriate for any commissioner. And this was asked before COVID-19. It was asked during COVID-19, and it was still happening. So my suggestion is that we make a permanent ban for the use of town hall as an office.
I don't have any problem with that, but I want to hear what everybody else has to say.
Martin? Carrie?
Go ahead, Carrie.
You got to unmute yourself. there.
You're muted. Carrie,
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I think it's unfortunate that this is where we're at with this subject. But I honestly, a couple of months ago, I would have thought that was kind of a strange idea. But now I don't really have a problem with it.
Martin?
And my thoughts are, this is I've talked to a lot of people about this, and that as much as Jerry has a passion for his job and he's in there trying to help, it's been a distraction. It's been a distraction to the employees of town hall. It's my understanding that other jurisdictions try to keep commissioners and elected officials separate from town staff for a purpose, so there's no undue influence. So I do think that having commissioners hanging around town hall or working at town hall for extended periods has become a problem. I am not opposed to this, to something like this. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
I guess my fear has always been that I want our town manager to feel like he is the boss. He is the boss of his staff, and I from day one. I've wanted him to feel that way. I mean, we hired a great, great person in Seth, and I just want him to be protected as well as the rest of the staff.
And I feel that I speak for everyone in the way that we have felt about this for quite some time. We went public with this, we went private with this. We've given multiple opportunities to try and, curb the way it was being handled. And I as well am saddened that this is what it has come to. But we cannot have a situation where the president of our board, especially, is failing to follow protocol, charter, policy. So I'd like to make a motion at this point.
Wait a second, excuse me. Okay, you can make the motion as long as there's discussion
Well,
afterwards.
Didn't we already had a
If there's-
motion in a second, didn't we?
Yes, this is
No.
the discussion.
All right, well then here's my thing. One, I think that's totally draconian. Two, I've never said that any commissioner, any of you could ever not use town hall when you needed to. So, I mean, it was open to everybody. You took my office away, okay, fine. Or not my office, but the use of the office away, okay, fine. So I was working in the large room and I was trying to stay within the bounds that I was giving. However, I take my job seriously and with a great deal of pride. And some believe that, you believe I've overstepped by being in town hall so much. I agree that I've been town hall a lot, but these are extraordinary times. And let me briefly tell you about some of the things that I have been fielding since beginning of the crisis. One is concern over MCPS initially not including a free and reduced meal distribution point in the Poolsville cluster. I immediately reached out to the appropriate MCPS and county officials to help resolve the problem. I also informed MCPS about WUMCO, how WUMCO could assist them in notifying people of the dates, times, and pickup points. As president of the Montgomery County chapter of the Maryland Municipal League, due to a staffing shortage, board members and myself have been taking up the slack created when our chapter secretary changed jobs and while we enlist another person to fill the spot. Since leaving high school, I've approached every job, whether it's a college student, U.S. Navy enlisted or officer, defense contractor, with an extremely high degree of commitment. This I attribute to watching my parents run a successful business, small business, for 25 years. Some may see this as being overzealous. Well, maybe it is. I'm saddened that some see this as overstepping my role as commissioner, but I see it as necessary to meet the challenges of the job, especially during this time of the virus. I was elected 24 years ago because the residents wanted someone who was honest, engaged, transparent, who represented all of Poolsville's residents and shared the same vision for quality of life not found elsewhere in this county. I have consistently worked towards those charges. And to turn around and to say that no other commissioner, regardless of who they are, could ever use town hall to go in there to type up a message or whatever, I find really extraordinary and way out of bounds. And it's like, using a nuclear bomb to put out a kitchen fire. So I think that, one, I respect everybody in town hall. I have not gone in and sat in Seth's office to annoy him or annoy him at all. I do my job and I try and get out of there as quickly as possible. However, if this thing like this farms thing emerged on a Thursday morning when I got a call from a lady who was in a meeting with the county concerning the farms program and said, why isn't Poolsville and Damascus on there? And then later that same day, as I was preparing to leave, Bethesda Beat comes on and says, Damascus, they've allocated 2 additional pickup points. one was Damascus and another one I can't remember where. So that sort of really just hacked me off. So I went out, I got the superintendent's FY 2021 CIP book. I took the tables out of the Poolsville cluster, which identified the student population for each school in our cluster and the percentage of that population that was in, that used the farms program. And I sent off emails to the county executive, the board of the superintendent of schools, Dr. Smith, and Miss Sherba Evans, who is the board president, to help get this resolved. And I sent it to all the principals and PTAs, and, you know, people felt that was a good thing I did. Now, something like that, when it comes up, needs to be addressed then. And the fact that I was in town hall and I was sitting in the large conference room, not bugging anybody over in the office area, to me is, I mean, come on, really? You know, I think this serves as not an embarrassment so much, at least I don't think so, to me, as it is to you for proposing something like this, especially for commissioners who come after you and I, Valerie.
Well, Jerry,
I mean, you know, everybody operates a little different. Roy Johnson operated different from Andy Johnson, who operated differently from Eddie Coleman, who operated differently from Jim, and I operate different from Jim.
first of all, it's not just me proposing it, it's our entire board, and we have all discussed it, and we all feel the same way about it. You can do every single one of those amazing things that you've done, Jerry, because you've done amazing things for the town. You can do all of it from the privacy of your home office. All you need to do is purchase internet and stop using the towns.
Well,
Listen, I've minced words over this before. If you just would put internet into your home and pay for it, you could do all of these things from home, and we appreciate the things that you do. There was a simple solution 6 months ago, and we all discussed it with you, and we all asked you to do it. You're sitting in your car at town hall right now for our meeting because you won't put internet in your home.
but that's
Okay,
my decision,
this is the
not yours.
embarrassment.
That's your decision. That's my decision. I don't tell you what cars to buy, what appliances to get, how to dress, or anything else. This shouldn't be something where, you know, you tell me that what I have to do. You know,
I'm not telling you what you have to do with your
you are.
internet. I'm
You're-
telling you it would
you're
solve
saying,
the
I mean,
problem.
You know, it's like, for what I do, I think my use of the internet in town hall is justified.
It isn't,
I think it would be justified for any commissioner to use it.
it's not just the internet, Jerry, and you know it at this point. So
What else?
is there
is it?
anything else you
What
want to
else
say
is
about
it?
that?
No, what else is it besides the internet?
We've discussed it for 6 months.
Well, I think also, and I've said this to you privately and publicly now, I think too, Jerry, I don't think any of us, think that there's any lack of commitment on your part to this board and to this town. I certainly know that you are very committed to this town, but so are all of we. And it's disrespectful to say that there is some kind of a correlation between your level of commitment and your proximity to town hall, because I'm sure it's true for all of the commissioners, and certainly for myself. I'm doing all of the same things that you're talking about. I'm making lots of calls and sending lots of emails and communicating with all kinds of folks, but I'm doing it with, while I'm making dinner and while, my children are running around. I mean, you just get it done.
Jerry, I'll say something. I appreciate your service, and I don't doubt that you're using your time at town hall for productive purposes. For me, it just boils down to the distraction factor, and whether it's right or wrong, it's a distraction. It's weighing on people in town hall, and it's a problem. And as someone, I guess, as Valerie said before, this is about the town manager. This is about town staff, and if it's a distraction, I do think that it's not unreasonable to ask you to work at a home office or at an alternate location.
which we have
Because-
done.
But a distraction is probably putting it mildly, but that's how I'll put it.
I mean, this is a major distraction. I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and this is what we're talking about right now. It's
Well,
crazy.
that's just it. Yeah, why are we talking about this?
Because
you know?
one, Jerry, we limited town hall to essential personnel over a week ago and you did not leave.
I talked with Seth and he said if I stayed in the large room, it would be okay. So I did. And then I found out I could use my car for the internet, to do it. And it's like, I've explained to you how I feel and what's come up and why I've been there longer hours. Now I've been doing conference calls from home and stuff like that.
Listen, our board does a lot
All
for the town of Poolsville, as Carrie stated. I myself,
I'm not gonna, okay,
I
I'm
sit on 5 other boards along with the Board of Commissioners. I do all of it from my home and I work a full-time job.
okay.
So I just have a question. I don't mean to interrupt. 2 things. One is, I believe I was wrong. There hasn't been any kind of a motion made, so I apologize for that. I saw Jay grimace when I said that, and so I'm thinking that's what he's thinking. And then the other is that I think, Jerry, that it comes down to is that the will of the board was voted on, and that a decision was made, and I believe that the genesis and push behind Val's direction right now is simply because you refuse to comply with the board's legal vote.
Well,
And I think that's what it comes down
It
to.
was not intentional refuse. I didn't plan on staying there longer than I had to. And as soon as I got my emails done, I got out of there.
It wasn't one.
But I'm not going to debate this anymore. So if there is a motion, is there, someone going to make a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion that a permanent ban on all town commissioners using town hall as an office, regardless of times or days of the week. Commissioners shall only make use of town hall resources such as internet, copying, and similar activities in conjunction with a scheduled meeting with town hall staff, members of the public, or a scheduled meeting either in the town meeting room or conference room.
I'll second that.
Sounds like a real motion.
Sounds like it. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing
So
none?
hang on. That was a
No.
motion by Val and a second by Carrie. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So
got it.
call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. No. Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Okay.
So to finish my statement, what I wanted to say is that the motion to do that on top of making a motion of nomination, excuse me, I'd like to make a motion to remove the presidency seat from Commissioner Klubakowski. In doing that, I would like to state that I am publicly conceding what the charter would dictate, and that's for me, the vice president, to move into this position of presidency. I am conceding that position. As I stated, I am leaving the board in November. With my leaving in November, I feel it's best to move on based on what we can agree upon as a board. And after a lot of discussion today, some of us agree that the best thing to happen right now would be to nominate Commissioner Carrie Cook to replace that seat as president. So first, I would like to make a motion that we remove the presidency seat.
May I interrupt for 1 second, Val? Excuse me.
Yes.
Jay, this is a question for Jay. Is this all legal? What Val's proposing? Is this the way to do it?
Okay,
Jay, are you muted?
can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Jay.
On mute.
Can't hear you.
Seth, can you unmute him?
He muted himself.
I'm still muted?
No, you're
I
good.
hear you now.
Yourself. You got to start over.
Okay.
There you go again, Jay.
Jay, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Jay, your voice.
Okay, hang on.
Somebody text him.
Jay,
I just did.
Oh,
He must.
Can you just give us a head nod?
Can you hear us, Jay? So Martin is
You have to
asking,
ask yes or no questions, Martin.
yes or no, Jay? Is what Val's proposing legal?
Yeah, did you not hear anything I said?
Nope,
No,
we can hear
now
you.
we can hear you.
Really eloquent. The first
bill
thing
us
that
twice.
what Val is proposing, you would have to make a motion and then second it to remove the president. Then Val would state that she does not want to take the presidency at that point in time. Then you'd have a vacancy, and then you'd make a motion and a second to fill the vacancy. Did y'all hear that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
okay, so I'll do it again. I'd like to make a motion that we remove Commissioner Klubakowski from the presidency seat.
I'll
Need your
second.
motion.
Carrie, did you second?
I did. Yes, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. All in favor?
Who calls that motion? Can you call that?
I don't know. I
Jay,
was waiting,
who's
but
supposed to?
Jerry, if the president does not want to do it and recuse himself from acting on it, then the vice president can run the vote.
no, I'll call the question.
okay.
And restate the motion, anybody? This is pretty important.
The motion is to remove Commissioner Klubakowski from the presidency seat. Carrie second the
I'll second
motion.
the motion.
Okay,
What happened?
let's go. Are we voting?
Vote.
Call the
All those in-
question. All in
right.
favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Me? Motion carries.
So at this point, what would normally happen in our charter is that the vice president would take the position as president. And I have said already publicly that I will concede that position as I plan to leave the board in November anyways. So I'd like to make a motion that, or I'd like to nominate Commissioner Cook to take that seat and to hopefully run our board in a professional, charter abiding, policy abiding, professional manner from now until November, when the next election takes place.
I second that.
I just wanted to reiterate that I really have been trying to avoid the vote that we just had. And again, I have a lot of respect for the work that Jerry has done and continues to do for this town. But this topic has just gone on for much too long. And in the light of the news of the day, which is the biggest news any of us has ever experienced in our lifetimes, you know, I just really want to move forward and stop spending any more time on this issue. So I accept the nomination.
I second the nomination.
Somebody's got to call the motion again for a vote, unless you're going to have discussion.
Valerie, that would be you at this point.
All right, at this point, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Me,
Motion carries 4-1. And I'd just like to say that I as well am very sorry that this is what it has come to. This was not my drive. This was a drive that was driven by the entire board. And I wish that it would have gone differently when we discussed this a few months ago. I appreciate the board trying to come together on this. I really do.
Valerie, I want to thank you. I know that this took some courage for you. It took some character, and I know you were criticized for that op-ed you wrote, probably inappropriately so. I know you were trying to do what was best for the town and best for the board. I know that's what you always have in mind for Poolesville, and you've done a fantastic job as vice president. I would nominate Valerie to continue to serve as vice president.
I appreciate that. You know, my
Yeah, I
heart,
don't think that's supposed to change unless somebody's making a motion to change it, correct?
yeah, it doesn't.
Jay?
Okay, so it stays
Right.
the same? Okay.
As long as nobody wants to make a motion to change it, she'll stay. Mhm.
Well, I just want to reiterate that I think she's done a good job as vice president, and I appreciate her service, and I have faith in her.
I appreciate that, Martin. I've loved every minute of what I've done with this board and for our town. And I will always continue, even past my term in November, to stay on the other boards that I serve on with Helping Hands Poolesville. You know, I've been on the board of WUMCO in the past. Many things that I do, I involve myself in, and all I want to do is the best for our community now and going forward. And I'm sorry that this is where our board ended up, but I do look forward to going forward and moving on with this process, and so that we can all have that weight eliminated. And Seth, I am extremely sorry that you've had to endure this.
I also think
Yeah,
it's
what
also think it's
else do you
appropriate-
want on your plate, Seth? You know, you've got a COVID-19 replacement of a president stepped in. What else do you want on your plate? We're gonna throw it
We've
on
got
there.
allocation and a master plan, you know, all these modest
That's
things.
right. Good call, man. Good call.
I think it's appropriate too to thank Jerry for his service as president, and I just want to mention during his tenure, we did achieve some good things. We voted to establish the Fair Access Committee. We helped Historic Medley District get off their feet, and as a result, they've been able to offer the community lots of historical events, bringing people down county that spend their dollars here. We adopted a small cell 5G technology ordinance. We invested in Poolesville Day by making sure the chairperson is given a modest stipend for the countless hours of work that they do. We rededicated and upgraded Campbell Park, and we're recognized as a wildlife habitat community. He helped us see through the road transfer of Fisher Avenue, enabling us to do the streetscape and put in the 2 needed crosswalks. Approved funding for pickleball courts. We restarted the Economic Development Committee, which is going to be a very important thing in the months coming with this COVID problem. We started the ball rolling toward live streaming meetings and more transparency with agenda materials. We wrote, although haven't adopted, a couple of ZTAs that will do, among other things, eliminate gas stations near schools. Jerry has brought a very unique passion to this board, and it's appreciated. And I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart for what he's done for Poolesville and for our board.
I will reiterate the appreciation for Jerry's passion for Poolesville. I really just wish that we would have gone in a different direction with this. So I do thank you for that, Jerry.
you're welcome.
So Carrie, you're president now. You're running the rest of the meeting.
We don't have anything else on our agenda, do we?
Does any of the commissioners want to have their reports?
Yes, we should do that.
I just wanted to say a couple of things about the the small business assistance that Seth talked about earlier. So like he mentioned last week, the staff compiled a list of federal, state, county assistance programs for small businesses in our town. I sent a letter on behalf of this board to all the small businesses, save a few for whom I didn't have contact info. Started communicating with a few, and I'm sure I'll be in contact with most all by the end of this week. And I just want to say many, many thanks to Kathy Bupp, who usually coordinates all the town's events. But now, of course, sadly, we're having to cancel events. I know we were all really sad to see the decision close to cancel Springfest. It was certainly the right call to make. But Kathy's now been taking on basically looking at the needs for our community, which is great. And huge thanks to, again, to Seth, who is spearheading this project. I just want to let folks know that Town Hall staff is here to help you. We want to support all of our small businesses as they have supported the town through, in so many ways, through events with all of the PTAs, WOMCO, every soccer team and school musical. I'd also really love to see these programs up on our website. And the other thing I wanted to mention was, and I mentioned this to Seth already, I've noticed some other municipalities are on their website or just giving kind of some quick information about coronavirus, sort of a banner at the top of their website, because all of this information is just changing so rapidly, and so thanks. I know Seth was going to look into doing that. I just think the better, the quicker we can get information out to folks, the better.
Yeah, and thanks for getting that information out, Carrie. I know the chamber pushed some stuff out a few weeks ago. We've all been trying to get as many businesses as much information as we can to let them know their options. I mean, this is a terrible, sad time for all of us. At least people in general have some options with unemployment. We need our businesses to have options so that we can keep them alive. So I appreciate that. Does anybody else want to give a report? Carrie, do you want to go through the committees?
Planning Commission.
You're muted, Martin.
Apologies. Planning Commission, we're supposed to meet a week from Wednesday. Seth, I was going to ask you tonight, are we planning on having that meeting via Zoom? Or are we planning on?
We're not going to have that meeting at all.
Okay.
On the agenda, there is nothing on the agenda.
Okay.
So we're canceling all meetings that aren't commissioner meetings, right?
Yes, essentially, unless there's some sort of applicant-driven information, which really would essentially be the Board of Zoning Appeals or the Planning Commission. Those are really the only boards off the top of my head that I think would, be boards which applicants would submit for some sort of application process.
And is that an indefinite thing, or do we have any kind of an idea of when we might restart these?
Well, I do think that's probably something we need to consider and probably discuss. That was one of the things I was going to bring up under my town manager report is, some of these boards may want to move forward with some initiatives on some of the proposals they have. For example, Parks and Rec was going to present to you the concept they had regarding, the Planning Commission or the Board of Zoning Appeals, unless an applicant submits, there's really no business on those boards anyway. So it's basically driven by need and severity. And I'm not sure if some of these things, depending on what it is, can't hold off a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even with the state of emergency, there may or may not be a question about processing applications and what those timelines look like, because there could be a potential suspension on those.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's I have no report because we haven't met in almost a month. So
I assume there's not really anything to say about events at the moment.
No, we all sadly know what is taking place, and you know, it's just killing Kathy. It's her passion, it's her love, and I feel terrible that you know has been pulled out from under her. So the Poolsville Day Committee did have basically an email meeting where they emailed all of the agenda items that each committee member works on. So they are still working towards accomplishing what they need to for Poolsville Day. But of course, you know, nobody's able to meet at this point.
And just kind of piggyback on that a little bit. Yes, I mean, as you can imagine, Kathy, you know, really thrives off this. And so it is, you know, unfortunate for her and she's a little bit bummed about it, but she has been helpful with me and for me, as Carrie said, not only compiling some of this information, but doing some other things. Now we've had to shift a little bit from, you know, promotions to business, helping businesses and providing resources and things to them. But there's other tasks that she's working with me on. So I've been able to make use of her time by shifting some priorities around.
That's great. And thank you for doing that, Seth.
Yep.
You know, it's really important right now that, you know, my company, which is a Poolsville based company, we are working as hard as we can to take care of all of our employees that are local. They're all local. And we appreciate the fact that you're doing everything you can to make it, you know, a less fearful situation for our town staff and our employees. Besides staying healthy, we don't want people to be, you know, afraid of today or their futures.
So there isn't really much to say about parks at the moment. I did also want to mention the census. I don't think we've talked about that at all tonight. The census is still happening. And it's so important for our area. Our ability to be counted correctly really translates into funding for services in our region. And we want to make sure that the Up County gets counted, because the Up County counts. You can fill in your card that you should have gotten in the mail, complete the census by phone or go online. It's my2020census.gov, my2020census.gov. And I believe you have until mid-August. You might as well just do it now.
Takes 10 minutes.
Yep, super
And
cool.
legally, everyone is supposed to do it.
Great. And you got to include everybody in your home.
Yep. It wasn't a pretty picture for me.
Right. You and your other 12 people.
Yes. Well, there's 6 of us here right now, including a baby, but it's well worth it to get the information out.
Jim, did you want to say something about fair access?
You know, I put the report out to everybody on email,
And we
and
appreciate
I
it.
can just summarize it, said for the millions listening online. It basically comes down to that we had our BOE forum, very well done by all the parties that were involved, and with Kevin taking the lead on that one. And we're going to come up with a slate of recommended candidates. We're going to for the BOE elected spots, and the ballot questions, we've been battering them around. I sent a sample. I sent the questions that we're going to send out to the candidates. The commissioners have seen them, and the Fair Access Committee has been kicking them around for a while. You saw that we've reduced our budget. That was just out of respect for the money that's going to have to be spent in order to make up what's lost due to the virus. And then we have we sent a letter out. Link Hoeing and I had a phone meeting with Robin Riley of Montgomery County Rec, and we've summarized that conversation and kind of pushed back on some of the items that we've heard. Everybody got a copy of that, and that letter was sent out to her today. And it'd be circulated to all the people that were on the list as well. So I'm sure we'll have ongoing conversations there about it. And then last but not least, you probably saw in that too, that we've been working on the side with this Saval Foods to do food distribution. And the more that evolves, Valerie's been head manning that along with Link, then you'll see more of that. We're still working on some of the kinks of it. There's, all the attorneys, Jay, they, every time they get involved. So anyway,
I do want to say about
Yeah.
the Saval thing, because Carrie made a good point the other day, or someone did. Certainly, we are not discounting all of our local people,
Oh, no.
our local
Yeah.
produce, our local farms. We have it on the top of our list. We're pushing that as well. I sent David, from Alden Farm stuff out to a handful of people who have put orders in. I've been promoting a lot of local farms even outside of Poolsville, because right now the demand is so great that we're not going to be able to meet all of the demands, even with what we have. I mean, savages have been bombarded, so, and there's things that you can't get at a farm store. And the way I look at it is the more people that do not have to leave our small community and contaminate themselves in the process, the better off we all are. So options are absolutely essential right now to bring things into town and have a good, healthy distribution that we know we can control.
And last but not least, on fair access. Thanks, Val. Last but not least, on fair access, we're all waiting to vote from Montgomery County for the new school, but we all know everything is up in the air right now. So we're trying to position ourselves. That depends on how it's going to be obviously a big gaping hole in the budget, in the Montgomery County budget, because of the virus. And we're just trying to keep ourselves well positioned so when the chips fall, that we're still going to be at the top of whatever list we're supposed to be.
Right, and to add to that a bit, I communicated with the Mark Carruthers, the principal of the high school, and he has not heard anything with respect to anything going on with the school.
Yeah, they haven't toured the school with engineers lately. They haven't done that they know
No,
of.
the thing is he hasn't
Right.
heard anything about any further work beyond what's already been done, which is the tour of the school with the engineers, which they never allowed us to participate in it, as I recall.
Right.
Righto.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thanks, Jim.
Mhm.
Jerry, did you want to say anything else about schools?
No, that's all.
There is no school.
Yeah.
No more
Sadly, that's not, we all just laugh, but it's not, it's terrible. Terrible.
There's a lot of homeschooling going on at my house.
Yeah.
Just two quick notes under the town manager report. One is that Westerly Grove has stopped their land development for the next 30 days, but they're not stopping home construction. So they're building on the lots that they've platted and for the infrastructure they've put in. I assume after 30 days, they'll make a business decision about where they want to go. Brightwell is moving forward and they have no plans to stop with any home constructions that they're doing. Well House 11 is in order, but with the COVID virus, I think there's a discussion about getting the crew in there and actually turning it on, because you have to have more than it's just more than flipping a switch. Got to make sure that everything is working. And so you have to have several different people from different trades there. So if anything goes wrong as the first kick on, that they're prepared to fix any things that may happen there. So basically that means multiple bodies within a very small structure, making sure this thing works. So there may be delaying when they turn on this new well house, but I want to provide an update and I'll check back on this issue and give you a further update of where we're at on that. But that's been the latest status of why we haven't kicked the breaker and turned it on, because folks from different trades need to be
Yeah.
there.
We
Seth,
appreciate that.
what happened at that pumping station over in Stony Springs?
I did not follow up with Andrew today, so
So it must have been minor.
yeah, I didn't get any report that
Somebody left a hose on. That's what it would be in my house.
Yeah.
I didn't get an invoice that said I need a $5,000 new pump. So
Are they
That's good. Good sign. I like that.
doing any valve replacement over there, or is that all held in abeyance?
what's that?
Are they doing any valve replacement over at the Woods of Tama?
That's been put on hold. We were going to go forward with it this week, but considering the nature that everybody is quarantined at home, we thought it wouldn't be advisable to shut off their water for 8 hours during the day.
Yeah.
Most folks aren't happy having the water shut off even when they're not there. So I can imagine if they were there, like your phones would blow up. So I just decided it was not an ideal way to handle this. We'll wait till the virus is over. I mean, the rusted bolts are rusted bolts, and they haven't been breaking yet. Their serviceable life is clearly at the end, and so when we have the opportunity to replace them this summer, that's when we intend to do that.
Seth, are we also on hold with the crosswalk lights?
The answer is no, we're not on hold with that, but some of the parts are coming in a little slower than anticipated.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the,
And let me finish something there though. Part of the issue there is man hours, right? Meaning that we used to have all the Parks and Rec crew, during the day, every day of the week. Now we've broken them up into teams of 2, so it really becomes a staffing issue. That's kind of the holdup. There was some delay in parts and everything else, but
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
are the 2 new charging stations operational?
The new charging stations were supposed to go over to TADS, I believe it is, because we didn't have enough capacity
Right?
at the location, and they wanted us to contribute some dollars, and so I believe it was TADS who stepped up and said they can be placed on his property.
They're gonna take the 2 stations that are there at the corner.
Those will remain.
Uh-huh.
Those will remain.
Okay, and they're gonna put 2 new ones over on his property?
Yes, that's correct.
Before we move on, Valerie, I have a question for you.
Sure.
We had talked via text message about the possibility, and I'm getting a text message from somebody right now that's asking about the parks, and apparently there was a large crowd at the skate park, and you and I had talked about you were going to talk to Officer Bond and see if they have any interest in trying to disperse crowds or anything during this pandemic.
So Carrie can probably answer that because I have talked to Tara, but Carrie got I believe, had a little conversation. Tara and I had played phone tag on that subject, and her and Carrie connected in the midst of that. So Carrie.
Well, I mean, basically her message is, folks can always, approach others and, just let them know the rules. I mean, I've done so myself when I've seen, kids where they're not supposed to be now on the playground, which seems like a strange thing to do, tell children to stop playing. But obviously, her main message, Officer Bond's main message is, you don't want to be approaching if you, sense that there's going to be any kind of harm coming back at you. So she definitely wants people to know that you can call the non-emergency number, anytime you see really that there's a violation. I mean, parks are closed now except for walking through.
And she's willing to come. She's willing to come out for the non-emergency, or they're willing to come out. Okay.
Well, the way that works, Martin, just so you know, is there's a number you can call, the 301-279-8000, and basically that number is used for non-emergencies. Somebody's life isn't in danger, someone's not being hurt, but it is an issue that the police needs to be called in, and it gets dispatched to the patrol officers exactly the same as a 911 call, but they know that no one's life is in jeopardy at the moment.
Do you know that number offhand?
It's 301-279-8000.
But unless there's an officer that's in the immediate area that can respond, I doubt they're going to send anybody out here to
Jerry went dark on us.
yeah, I know.
The only time they won't send an officer is if the officers are tied up on other calls. If the call came in and there was a complainant and there's a patrol officer on a beat anywhere in the first district, they will send an officer. They will not discard the idea, but they won't put it ahead of other things that are more pressing.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
They'll triage the calls as normal. Yeah.
right. But I think at the same time, if you make that call, you can request the officer to come to your location,
You can.
as I recall.
Yes, you can. In fact, I had to do that last week when someone broke into the high school while I was standing in my yard. Sadly, the greenhouse was broken into last Friday. 2 Friday nights ago. But yes, they will. But what I've found is that I know a couple people who have made some phone calls. And basically the dispatch is saying that, you know, we're addressing these issues. We'll send someone out as soon as we can. You know, if the situation changes or disperses immediately, just let us know.
Good, thank you.
Seth, did you have anything else?
I'll just finalize here. If you see any work kind of happening in Wayland Commons, we may be, well, what we're going to do is upgrade some of the electrical there. As you know, during our events, the electrical system is at capacity with all the vendors, and we need to upgrade that. So that's what you'll see out there. So if you see some trenching and other things, that's what's happening out there.
And Seth, thank you for getting the restroom situation together. Unfortunately, with the banning of people from town hall, the police officers were also asked not to come into the staff town hall, well, into town hall at all due to cross-contamination. But Seth and Preston got the restrooms behind the pavilion together so that our local officers could use those, just, you know, since they are the only ones who will come and go, and they're taking very strict precaution amongst themselves. Tara had called me and asked that we work that out, Officer Bond, and so we did. So thank you for that.
Well,
One question with respect to the restrooms in the various parks. Have they been upgraded for baby changing stations or not?
I'll have to look at the individual ones. I don't have that answer offhand. I mean, it was in the budget
Okay,
a couple years ago, so I would presume that to be the case.
all right.
Which ones are those, Jerry?
All the, pardon me. By the way, there was a bill, I don't think it got passed. There was a bill a couple years ago that you'd have baby changing stations in various places. And that passed. And then there was another bill this year that came, that someone put forward, that you had to have adult changing stations in all restrooms. And basically, I think that one fell apart because no one could figure out how you're going to have an adult baby changing station that would accommodate various sizes and weights of the adult population.
Yeah.
That thing went down. I think that thing never got out of committee, I don't think.
So before we adjourn, I also do want to say, I have no idea if she would have taken the time to watch tonight, but today was Bobby Evans' birthday. And so I do want to say happy birthday, Bobby.
Happy birthday, Bobby.
Happy
I know
birthday.
you weren't at town hall because you're staying at home due to, you know, a family situation. So just hope you had a great day, Bobby.
Are you gonna sing, Val?
I might. Happy birthday to you.
Wow.
Okay, okay.
All right, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
All right, I guess our next meeting is the 20th, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Gotta
Thank you.
adjourn us. Adjourn us.
We're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
All right.
adjourn.
Everybody stay healthy.
Yep, you too. Take care.